we're going to talk about Dune and the new Dune trailer.
Ooh.
Which I am extremely, extremely excited about. As far as comparisons, I rewatched Dune the other night. And well, the David Lynch version, you know, the 2-hour, 17-minute one. And I noticed that in the trailer, it does seem to take inspiration from a lot of the David Lynch visuals, which I'm okay with, because I think Denis Villeneuve, is that how you say it, Villeneuve? I think that he is showing a respectful tribute to the original, and I actually think he's going to do possibly a little bit better job with the story, because David Lynch, he made Paul Atreides very godlike in the end, you know, as if he was a god, and you're supposed to be happy for him, and you know, but Frank Herbert, the writer of the book, never intended for that. His intent was to show you what a dictator can be like. So Paul Atreides isn't supposed to be a hero. He's supposed to be scary to you. He's supposed to be, you know, what would happen if a person got, you know, a big head and, you know, took over. This is what Frank Herbert says himself. So he wasn't too happy with David Lynch about, you know, making Paul Atreides a godlike figure. I was okay with it, because when I saw it in the theater, I was 13, maybe, no, 84, maybe I was 11 or 12, and I didn't think about any of that stuff. I hadn't read Dune yet, so I didn't know about the stuff with the story back then. But I definitely think that I'm going to enjoy this one. I think that the visuals are incredible. The trailer, the worms, I was a little worried about the worms at first, because they kind of look, you know, a little sphincterish. So I was a little bit nervous about that. But I like the split worm thing, you know. But after watching it a few times, I actually think it's going to be okay. It doesn't look too bad. And they're making them different sizes. So there's going to be like all different size worms. There's going to be baby worms and bigger worms. And it looks exciting.
I've not seen the Lynch film. I've not read any of the books, but I thought the trailer looked really good. I really, I'm a fan of Denis Villeneuve, however you pronounce it.
Villeneuve.
Villeneuve, I think. It's French.
I actually haven't seen the Lynch film, and I can't even remember how long. I actually like the sci-fi miniseries better, so I've watched that a couple of times. But I do love the book. I haven't read it in a long time as well, but at the time I was completely obsessed with it, and I read the whole series and stuff like that. And I did like the trailer. I think he's giving it a different look than I would have expected, which is okay. I mean, try something different. You see, like there's one thing in particular. They show, I can't think of the actor's name right now, but they show Beast Rabin, who I think is played by the big wrestler guy.
Yeah, Dave Bautista.
Yeah, he looks almost albino, which is just kind of bizarre. Like, the character is not like that. It's kind of a strange look that they gave him. The scene though that they show where Paul's putting his hand in the Gom Jabbar looks just like the Lynch scene, really. Like, there's so many, you can see the homages to that film. He's really trying to pay a little bit of homage to that and say, you know, I know this film came first. It's a classic, but he's doing his own thing. I think you're right. Plus, he's gonna have an easier time. He gets 2 movies to tell the whole story,
right?
Which is condensing that thing into 2 hours and 50 minutes is difficult enough, but now he gets two films to do it. So you know, I'm interested to see what he does. It's like the look of it did seem just not what I would have expected, I guess, is the only thing. That's the thing that caught me off guard the most. There's also a pretty big spoiler in the trailer. I don't really want to say what it is, I guess, but there's a moment in the trailer, and I was sitting there and I was like, did that just happen? Because if you haven't seen this story, that would be a fairly decent spoiler, I think. So maybe we'll talk about it in the green room after, but there's just some cool little nods here and there. There's a scene where you see Paul kind of lift his dagger up, and and I think he's squaring off with Duncan Idaho, and he kind of does it too. And they always talk about in the books how they can kind of talk while they're battling with gestures and things like that. They don't have to use words. It's kind of like maybe he's kind of showing off some of that. They show the
dagger is
shields.
made out of the part of the worm.
The Chris knife, yeah, which
Yeah.
is like a huge thing. And yeah, the worm did look I was surprised by the look of the worm. I didn't immediately think sphincter, which was like the internet impression automatically was like, hey, it looks like a big butthole.
Yeah.
I just saw a bunch of layers of teeth kind of in like this huge, like not even really a mouth, but an open like maw. And I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. And then immediately afterwards, I'm like, butthole. I was like, oh, damn it, they ruined it for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's promising. I love the films that I've seen that Denis Villeneuve's done so far. So I have to give him, no matter what, I have to give him the benefit of the doubt, I guess, a little bit. So I am looking forward to it.
I think it's going to be a visual spectacle. And I do understand what you mean about the visuals being a little different. Lynch had like color schemes, you know, with each family and stuff.
That makes sense. Like that is something that's in the novels. Like there's this there's an opulence to like the Harkonnens and things like that. Like when you see the Sardaukar, which are like their soldiers, they come out of the dropship. They're in these like really just drab kind of gray armor, and they almost look all the same. And like those soldiers, you know, in the books, it's not that much different, but they would have had gold on them or things like that to make sure you know that they were the Harkonnen army, like because they're such this opulent people.
Right.
So it kind of looks a little drab, I guess, offhand. A lot of people were saying, you know, oh, it looks like Star Wars. You know, there's sand everywhere, and the weapons. They showed the shields. They're holding the shields, which is a little weird. They're supposed to be on their belts, but they're holding the shields and using them, and they're fighting. And immediately, people are trying to say they're trying to make a Star Wars. They're trying to make a big series. And if this takes off somehow, and this goes on into the other books, you're gonna get to see some weird. Pardon my language, but it gets weird after the first novel is his most normal one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
After a while, stuff starts to get so strange, and
that's Lynch.
if they really did it, yeah, like really, it should have been Lynch doing the other movies, because I would be blown away if they actually got past the first two books, really, maybe three, but we'll see.
If it looks like Star Wars, it's because when Frank Herbert wrote it, he was going with the you know, the trope of the man who would be king kind of trope, you know, with like Alexander the Great kind of trope thing. So because Star Wars kind of follows that, and there's this, you know, Tatooine is this big desert planet. It kind of looks a lot like Arrakis, and it I don't know. I think that it's silly to say, you know, that it has. I mean, it's not silly to say it has parallels with Star Wars, because it obviously does. But I don't think I don't think George Lucas was copying the book. I think he was just influenced by it.
Yeah, it's hard to get around that trope, I think, really.
Yeah, I also think that Timothy Chalamet, he is gonna do. I think he's gonna be great. I can tell by the trailer that I think his acting is gonna be outstanding. And no offense to Kyle, I love you, but this guy I think is gonna do really well. So
I just hope that at some point, you know, we have Fade Rotha and that sweet cod piece again, just like in the old movie. That's the only way to do it.
That I know. Didn't even wear that. That was daring to put that thing on. I remember laughing my butt off in the theater when he came out in that thing. I was like, "What the heck is he thinking?" That's funny.
Was I the only one who found the trailer to look really flat and digital, and that this cast looked too young?
I thought the lead guy looked a little young, but everything else I was fine with.
But
well, Paul
16.
is supposed to be that age. It actually is more accurate. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's sort of true. 16 isn't 16.
Yeah.
I don't want. I've read the original book as well.
Listen, that excuse has never held up for you in court before. It's not going to today.
I just I really loved his Blade Runner. And there that ultra smooth, ultra refined digital look made sense. But this looked really flat to me. I'm still going to go see it. I'm still excited because he's a great visual storyteller. But this trailer didn't do any favors for me. It kind of blanded out my expectations rather than raise them. And I'm still hopeful. But I do have an issue with, I mean, how the characters are talking is very 2020. That dialogue should be intoned completely differently, I think, if you want to have this thing age well. So that's a concern for the future I have, because he didn't do that in Blade Runner, so I don't know why that was a choice here.
Dropping LOLs and stuff all the time.
Almost.
Isn't the story set like 10,000 years in the future?
Yeah, it's actually the future of our future. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he is supposedly descended from Atreides family from Rome, like from Greek mythology. He's supposed to go all the way, but his line is supposed to go all the way back to ancient Greece, which is why some of the stuff in the trailer you can see, like in the background, they have bas reliefs on the wall of, they look Greek, and stuff. It's supposed to be a callback to that.
There's actually one of the later books that there's actually like the Jewish religion. There are Jews in it.
Yeah.
It is very much, and that's even further in the future. So it's interesting that it is supposed to be kind of on our path.
Yeah.
If I could just one more thing I'll add to Dune. That was a movie my wife tried to get me to watch for a solid year, and for one whole year I just wanted to do every other thing on the planet besides watch that movie. It was just one of those things where you just like, I'll watch it tomorrow. It's my second favorite David Lynch film besides Blue Velvet. My concern is, to me, and I'm no David Lynch expert by any means, his movies to me are like secret recipes, and I worry that if you try to figure out what that recipe is with a remake movie and you don't get it right, it'll just it just won't feel right. I'm actually nervous about it. I liked the trailer, but honestly, it really just made me want to go back and rewatch Dune, the original, again. So I'm actually more nervous about this than, say, a Scream 5. So, and I'm sorry, but nobody is hotter than Tom McClellan. And I'm a heterosexual male. He is the hottest man on the planet, always will be. Okay. So,
heck yeah.
I got to fight that.
Agreed.
You've got a thing for Tom McLaughlin, the Friday the 13th Part 6 director? Really?
I think you meant Kyle.
Kyle, I'm sorry.
Oh, goodness.
I mean, if it's going to be not necessarily a remake of that film, but a new interpretation of the book, I think that's probably what they're going for.
That is what they're going for. I mean, he does pay homage to Lynch, most definitely, because you can even see in the trailer that the part that Ryan was talking about when he sticks his hand in the box is shot for shot. I mean, it is identical, and so is the dialogue, as far as I can tell. Absolutely identical to the original Dune.
I am a little bit on the fence on the Villeneuve Dune, even though I loved Blade Runner, but I also loved Prisoners, which was a movie he made with Hugh Jackman a few years ago.
That's a good movie.
But I was also going to say, I also saw very recently, I don't know if any of you have heard of, on YouTube, there's this podcast called Midnight's Edge, and they just did a brilliant retrospective of David Lynch's Dune recently, where even though the guy that made it is a huge fan of the book and he likes the Lynch movie, but he says that the best version out there is actually a bootleg version. It's not either the official version. So
yeah, I heard about that.
Yes,
I heard about
that. But I'm on the fence. If it gets good reviews and if people say, is it worth seeing on the big screen, then I'll definitely give it a shot. But I definitely have it on my radar, I was going to say.
Villeneuve is I love every film he's made. So if it wasn't for him being attached as director, I really probably wouldn't be very excited, but I'll definitely see it in the theater. And I haven't watched the trailer yet just because I feel like trailers spoil a lot of things. So I'm just going to avoid trailers if I can for it.
About the use of Pink Floyd in the trailer, I love that.
Yes.
And I really wish, and I don't know how attached they are to Villeneuve's version, but I know that Jodorowsky wanted to use Pink Floyd to make the score.
Yes.
And I am all for that. Please do that. Because I really love Pink Floyd. And I thought the use of the song that they used for the trailer was genius. Really good. Loved it.